Have you ever caught yourself chasing attention like it was oxygen, talking more, doing more, bending yourself into shapes just to be seen? You give everything, yet at the end of the day you feel invisible, drained, and strangely less than you were before. It's a quiet kind of exhaustion, the kind no one notices but you. Most of us have been there. We think presence comes from being louder, brighter, harder to ignore. But real presence isn't about volume, it's about stillness. When you no longer react to every glance, every comment, every small pull on your emotions, something changes. You stop orbiting other people's approval. You start standing in your own gravity. That's when people notice, not because you've demanded it, but because you carry yourself as though you already belong. Stoic philosophy has long understood this. Detachment isn't coldness, and calm isn't weakness. They are signals of self-mastery, the quiet magnetism that draws others without a single step forward. In this video, we'll explore why being detached and non-reactive doesn't push people away, it draws them in. So stay with me and let's see how stillness can speak louder than any performance. Number 1, the magnetism of non-reactivity. Have you ever been in a room where someone drew your attention without even trying, without raising their voice, without demanding the spotlight, just by the way they carried themselves? In a world that spins faster every day, where most people are dragged from one emotional reaction to the next, that kind of calm presence feels almost otherworldly. It's not that they don't feel, it's that they've mastered the gap between impulse and action. That space where they choose their response instead of surrendering to reflex is where true power lives. Stoic philosophy has always understood this. Non-reaction is not indifference, it's discipline in its purest form. The person who flares up at every slight or rushes to defend themselves at every criticism is still ruled by circumstance. But the one who pauses, who observes before speaking, becomes the anchor in the storm. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That strength is silent, but it changes everything." Think of Captain Chesley Sully Sullenberger. In 2009, when both engines of his plane failed mid-flight, panic rippled through the cabin. But Sully didn't let fear seize the controls. He didn't waste a second on blame or shock. With a clarity most of us can't imagine, he guided that aircraft onto the Hudson River, saving every soul aboard. That moment wasn't luck. It was the culmination of years spent training calmness until it became instinct. His composure wasn't a mask. It was the natural state of a man who refused to let chaos own him. Most of us, though, aren't flying planes. We're navigating arguments, criticism, or moments when someone tries to pull us into their drama. And yet, the principle is the same. Have you ever stopped mid-argument and chosen not to defend yourself, not to explain, not to bite back? At first, it feels like surrender, like you're losing ground. But if you sit in that discomfort for just a few heartbeats, you discover something unexpected. A steady stillness, a vantage point from which you can see the game for what it is. Seneca warned, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." React to every jab, every headline, every provocation, and you scatter your strength across 1,000 battles that aren't worth fighting. But if you stay centered, solid, grounded and silent when silence is enough, you become unreadable, unshakable. You stop broadcasting your weaknesses for others to exploit. Try this. The next time someone triggers you, pause for 3 seconds. Don't speak. Don't roll your eyes. Don't let your body betray the storm inside. Just notice the feeling. trace where it wants to take you, and then decide, consciously, whether it's worth your energy. Those 3 seconds are a superpower. They turn reaction into choice, and choice into strength. And here's the unexpected reward. The less you react, the more you truly see. Without the fog of your own emotions clouding the view, you start recognizing what's driving others. Anger often hides fear. Endless chatter often hides insecurity. And once you see that, you stop taking the bait. You start understanding. From that understanding, you lead. True presence doesn't come from appearance or clever words. It comes from the unshaken core you carry while the world tries to rattle you. It's not forged under a spotlight, but in the quiet moments where you refuse to betray yourself for the sake of winning a momentary fight. When you've tasted the strength of non-reaction, you realize it's more than a tactic, it's a way of being. And from that stillness, you'll discover an even greater force, the kind of silence that speaks louder than anything you could say. That's where we turn next. Number 2, calm minds command attention. Have you noticed what's become the rarest thing in our age of car horns, buzzing phones, constant notifications, and the endless scroll of other people's lives? It's not attention, it's not success, it's silence. Once our natural state, silence has become so unusual that when someone disappears from the noise, even for a few days, people start whispering, "Is everything okay?" But silence isn't always a signal of something broken. Sometimes it's the clearest proof of strength. In a culture where emotions are engineered for engagement, where outrage is rewarded and noise is currency, the person who can hold their tongue is not weak, they're free. Free from the pull of every provocation, free from the reflex to answer questions that don't deserve an answer, free from the fear of being misunderstood. That kind of restraint is a rare magnetism. When the crowd shouts to be noticed, the one who stands still and says nothing becomes the one everyone watches. Marcus Aurelius captured this perfectly. The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury, not lowering yourself to respond to pettiness, not stepping into the mud just because someone tries to drag you there. That's confidence in its purest form. It's a quiet signal that you know your worth, and that worth cannot be bargained down by someone else's chaos. Look at Keanu Reeves. He's no Stoic philosopher, but he lives like one. He doesn't over-appear in the media. He avoids pointless arguments. He doesn't chase the spotlight, and that's exactly why people can't stop talking about him. In an entertainment world where everyone is shouting to be seen, he is the calm eye in the storm. His silence is not emptiness. It's intentional space. But you don't have to be famous to carry this power. Think back to a colleague you've worked with, the one who never interrupted meetings, who only spoke when it mattered. And when they finally did speak, the entire room shifted. Their words landed with more weight, not because they were always the smartest, but because they knew the value of holding them back until the right moment. The truth is, we often mistake reacting for responding. A reaction is instant, predictable, and usually shallow. A response is deliberate, considered, and often disarming. Real influence doesn't come from speed, it comes from depth. That's why we feel drawn to people who remain grounded when everything around them is spinning. They make us feel safe, as if they're holding a map we can't see. Silence isn't just a wise tactic, it's an ancient virtue. Seneca once wrote that even a fool can seem wise if he keeps silent. If that's true for the foolish, imagine the force it carries when you have reason, discipline, and depth behind it. So, how do you wield silence as power rather than passivity? You start small. The next time you're about to send a defensive message, stop, Wait 5 minutes. Delete it. Rewrite it as if you were a calm stranger with nothing to prove. The next time someone throws an insult your way, meet their eyes, breathe, and say nothing. Not because you're swallowing pain, but because you're showing that your presence isn't dependent on their permission. Each time you refuse to let emotion hijack your voice, you reinforce the truth that you, not the moment, are in control. And here's what happens. People start to lean in. They wonder what you're thinking. They weigh your words more carefully, and they sense, without you telling them, that you can't be moved by the same winds that toss everyone else around. You become unpredictable in the best way, trusted by some, feared by others, but always respected. In today's world, silence isn't background noise, it's punctuation. The right pause can turn a sentence into a statement into a stand, and the discipline to remain quiet when everyone else is performing is not just magnetic, it's dangerous in the way all real strength is dangerous. It can't be bought, provoked, or easily understood. So the next time you feel that tug to defend yourself, explain yourself, or match someone's volume, remember this. Sometimes the most commanding thing you can do is nothing. Not the nothing of avoidance, but the nothing of mastery. Because the less you spend your energy on proving yourself, the more it becomes obvious to everyone that you have nothing to prove. Silence is the first step. But if you've ever feared that pulling back might make you invisible, it's time to see the truth. Distance doesn't erase you, it shapes you. And in that space, you'll find the kind of strength that no applause can give and no criticism can take away. That's where we're headed next. Number 3, letting go creates true power. Have you ever noticed how we're raised to believe that if we're not heard, not seen, not agreed with, we somehow don't exist? So we react, we explain, we defend ourselves as if our very identity depends on it. We move through life like we're standing in a dark room, waving our arms, hoping someone will notice and turn on the light for us. But the Stoics saw it differently. They didn't wait for someone else's light. They carried their own. And their light wasn't the blinding kind that demands attention. It was steady, quiet, and unshakable. That light begins with a choice most people will never make: to let go of the constant need for recognition, to live as though you are already enough, even if no one claps, even if no one notices. To many, that detachment looks like emptiness, but to the Stoic, it's the source of strength. True detachment isn't avoidance. It's not turning away from life. It's refusing to let life's noise dictate your state of mind. It's closing the mental windows we keep open for opinions, applause, and criticism, so the space inside stays ours. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, the tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say, or think, or do. Only what you do. Detachment doesn't make you cold, it makes you free. It's the freedom to stop trading your peace for approval, and the less you need others to confirm your worth, the more real that worth becomes. Consider David Goggins, the former Navy SEAL and author of Can't Hurt Me. He didn't train for applause, he didn't film his miles or broadcast his pain. He ran in the dark, on torn knees and blistered feet, with no one watching. By the time people noticed, he had already transformed himself into something unbreakable. His detachment wasn't isolation, it was discipline. And because he needed no audience, people became even more curious. They saw the results, but they couldn't quite touch the source. That's the magnetism of a person who doesn't need permission to exist. The greatest freedom isn't doing whatever you want. It's no longer being forced to do what you don't want. When you stop letting others' opinions tether you, you stand in a kind of calm that cannot be faked. That calm becomes a quiet gravity. It draws people in, not with volume, but with depth. Try this. The next time you catch yourself explaining something just to make someone else comfortable, pause. Ask yourself, if I stayed silent right now, what would I lose? If the answer is nothing, you've just protected a piece of your power. That power is invisible, like gravity, but everyone feels it. And in a world where people are addicted to reaction, the one who can stand still without shrinking becomes unforgettable. The truth is, the constant visibility our culture demands is a trap. We've been told that if we're not always online, always replying, always posting, we'll be forgotten. But the opposite is often true. When everyone else is frantically waving for attention, the person who steps back becomes rare. They are the pause in a noisy song, the period at the end of a long, breathless sentence, the moment that makes people stop and think. Detachment is not emptiness. It's the place where strength gathers, and you may find that no one notices it right away. But you will notice. You'll feel less tension, less fear of judgment, less hunger for approval. You'll stop showing up to be accepted and start showing up because you've already accepted yourself. And that changes how others see you too. So, which life will you choose? Chasing the light so others can see you, or carrying your own so you can see yourself? When you choose detachment, you don't disappear, you become unmistakably clear. And once you've learned to stand in that clarity, you discover another truth. Sometimes it's not what you say that makes people listen, it's what you don't. If you've ever felt the pull to reclaim this quiet strength, type just one word in the comments: detach. And if you're ready to keep walking this path with me, hit subscribe so you don't lose this momentum. Because in a world drowning in noise, the rarest voice is the one that knows when to stay silent. And that's where we're headed next. Number 4. Silence cuts deeper than words. There are moments when speaking up doesn't bring clarity, it only fuels the fire. You can feel it in certain arguments. The more you try to explain yourself, the deeper you're dragged into a game you didn't choose. And in that game, the winner isn't the one with truth on their side, but the one who's loudest, sharpest, or quickest to strike. We live in a world that mistakes the speed of a response for the strength of an answer. Yet the person who chooses silence, not from fear, but from intention, becomes the one people actually lean in to hear. From an early age, we're taught to defend our opinions, to answer every challenge, to react before we've even taken a breath. Rarely are we told that not reacting can be an act of control far greater than any rebuttal. True silence isn't the absence of thought, it's the refusal to give away your power. It's not because you have nothing to say, but because you know that saying it would add nothing of value. In that choice, silence becomes a counterattack no one anticipates. Barack Obama understood this well. During his presidency, critics often labeled him as distant or overly cautious with the press. But what they called passivity was, in many cases, a deliberate strategy. He sidestepped hostile exchanges, limited formal briefings, and chose instead to appear in spaces where his words could be heard without the distortion of political theater. His restraint frustrated opponents who craved a public sparring match, because without his reaction, they had no target. It's a lesson in how withholding your presence can sometimes be more powerful than making it known. The Stoics saw the same truth. Most conflicts are born from the ego's demand to be right, and the larger the ego, the more it exposes itself when provoked. The silent person is not numb, they are vigilant. They guard their emotions, not by hiding them, but by deciding who, if anyone, gets to touch them. Marcus Aurelius captured this when he wrote, "Be like the cliff against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it." The cliff does not shout back at the sea, it simply remains unmoved. We've all had moments where our patience snaps, a group chat comment that stings, a post that pokes at an old wound, a careless remark that begs for a sharp reply. And yet, after reacting, do we ever truly feel stronger? Or do we feel more exposed, as if we've handed our opponent a map to our weaknesses? The quicker we react, the more predictable we become. The more predictable we are, the easier we are to control. Mastering silence turns that equation around. When you do not react, you give nothing to push against. You remove their footing before they even realize they're standing on it. Practicing this begins in the smallest moments. The next time someone says something that lights a spark of anger, pause. Take a mental step back. Ask yourself, is my urge to speak coming from truth or from the discomfort of feeling powerless? If you're not certain, say nothing. One careless sentence can create damage that no number of apologies can repair. Let your silence be a space you shape, not a void you leave behind. In meetings, try waiting before you speak. Listen, not just to the words, but to the tone, the pauses, the unspoken motives beneath the surface. You'll notice how people reveal themselves if you give them enough room, and when you do finally speak, a single well-placed sentence can shift the entire direction of the conversation. Silence also changes how others perceive you. It creates a certain gravity, a mystery that draws attention without you reaching for it. People begin to wonder what you're thinking, and in that wondering, they grant your words more weight. When you don't rush to fill every pause, your presence deepens. It's not the noise they remember, it's the space you held. This isn't about retreating from life. It's about learning that your presence is not measured by the number of times you defend it. True strength doesn't show itself in constant combat. It reveals itself in the moments when you could speak, but choose not to because you already know who you are. The one who masters that discipline doesn't just win arguments, they end them before they begin. And from that place of calm control, they step into the next challenge with a kind of power the loudest voices will never understand. Number 5. Boundaries are living standards. Have you ever noticed how exhausting it feels to be around someone who says yes to everything? At first, it might seem easy. They never disagree, never push back. But over time, it starts to feel hollow. There's no weight to their presence, no edge to their voice, because everything is given away too easily. And then there's the opposite. The person who can say no without raising their voice, without offering an elaborate explanation, and without a trace of hostility. That kind of composure carries a quiet authority. It doesn't come from a desire to please. It comes from knowing exactly where you stand. Boundaries are not walls meant to shut the world out. They are lines that define who you are. They signal that you know your own values and that you won't compromise them to keep someone else comfortable. In Stoic philosophy, this isn't just a social skill, it's a declaration of dignity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Boundaries follow the same logic. If it costs your peace, it's too expensive, no matter who is asking. You can see this lived out in Serena Williams. Under the relentless flash of cameras, the constant probing of the media, and the weight of public expectation, she protects her inner space with precision. When the questions push too far, she doesn't lash out or spiral into public drama. She steps back. She draws a line. She remains fierce on the court, but she doesn't give away her privacy or autonomy to feed the noise around her. That balance is why she's admired, not just as a champion, but as a grounded human being. The truth is, boundaries do not make you rigid, they make you clear. When you know what you will and will not allow, you stop being pulled into every emotional current around you. You can stay calm under pressure because the decision has already been made. This is what keeps my peace, and this is where I stand to protect it. In everyday life, this might mean telling a coworker you won't respond to messages after a certain hour. Some will push back. They might grumble, test the limit, even try to guilt you. But if you remain steady, they will adapt. Not because you forced them, but because you showed them how to treat you. Boundaries are not ultimatums. They are quiet lessons in respect. Here's a simple practice. When someone makes a request, pause before answering. Breathe. Ask yourself, if I say yes, am I honoring my values, or am I just afraid of disappointing them? That single question can change the course of your life because it pulls you out of reflex and into intention. Over time, it reshapes not just your decisions, but the person you're becoming. Many people fear that setting boundaries will push others away, but the opposite is true. The more intentional your boundaries, the more respect you earn. You become harder to manipulate, less predictable, and more trustworthy. These are the traits that create lasting attraction, the kind that has nothing to do with appearance and everything to do with self-possession. Of course, not everyone will applaud your clarity. Some will see it as resistance. Some will test it to see if it's real. And when you hold the line, they may fall away. But those who remain will know they are in the presence of someone who cannot be easily moved, someone whose value isn't up for negotiation. Think back to the times you've said yes just to avoid a difficult conversation. Did it actually preserve the relationship, or did it drain you a little each time? Change doesn't have to start with grand gestures. It can begin with something small. Decline an unreasonable meeting. Let a message sit unanswered for a few hours. Say, I need more time. These small acts are bricks in the foundation of a self you can trust. Because once you learn to hold the right distance, something shifts. People begin to lean in, not because you asked them to, but because you didn't need them to. Boundaries create space, and space creates gravity. It's that quiet edge, a mix of clarity and restraint that makes your presence linger in someone's mind long after you've left the room. And within that edge lies the seed of something even more potent. Mystery and unpredictability. The kind that can't be faked, can't be performed. It appears only when you stop trying to prove yourself and keep only what truly belongs to you. That's where we turn next. Number 6. Mystery through grounded presence. Think about the last time someone truly held your attention. Chances are it wasn't because they told you everything about themselves or because they reacted to every little thing in the moment. It was because there was something you couldn't quite read, something you wanted to understand but couldn't fully grasp. Human nature is drawn to the unknown. Familiarity, when too quickly given, loses its pull. But the person who reveals themselves slowly, who keeps part of their thoughts unspoken, becomes a mystery. And mystery is what makes attraction endure. We often assume that to be compelling we need to be the fastest speaker in the room, the most expressive, the one who always has a clever reply. But real magnetism doesn't come from what you say, it comes from what you hold back. The Stoics understood this well. Depth is not a performance, it's the product of knowing yourself so clearly that you don't need to prove it. You don't remain silent because you're afraid. You remain silent because you have nothing to gain from shouting. This shows up in the simplest situations. In a meeting, there may be someone who talks endlessly, filling the air with words because they fear silence will make them irrelevant. And then there's another person who sits quietly, taking in the room, jotting notes, watching without rushing to judge. When they finally speak, measured, concise, the energy shifts. The room doesn't just hear them, it listens. They don't grab control, they change the rhythm. That's the difference between noise and presence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Unpredictability, in its truest form, is not about playing games or keeping others guessing for the sake of it. It's about protecting your mind from being pulled into the control of others. When you react too quickly, all someone needs to do is press the right button and you've given them the reins. But when you know how to pause, to let words or events hang in the air without rushing to fill the space, you create something no one else can touch, a center that belongs entirely to you. Practicing this doesn't require a grand gesture. It begins with small moments. When someone irritates you, resist the urge to answer immediately. When you receive praise, take a second before you respond. When you're asked a question, let the silence breathe before you speak. These micro pauses are like threads that over time weave a quiet layer of presence around you. People won't even know why, but they'll start leaning in when you speak, sensing that your words carry more weight than most. In this state, you no longer spend your days chasing approval, trying to be understood, or scrambling to be seen. You live from within, anchored in your own sense of worth. And that changes the quality of your interactions. You're no longer trying to be attractive, you simply are. Not because you've perfected an image, but because you've stopped needing attraction as a form of validation. Ask yourself, how much of what you say each day is truly necessary? How often do you speak just to fill the silence? How many times do you reveal too much, not because anyone asked, but because you feared being overlooked? Imagine living one day without explaining, justifying, or reacting to every stimulus around you. What would remain? That unshaken part. That's the real you. When you can live from that place, you'll find that unpredictability is no longer an act. It's the natural byproduct of being whole. People will be drawn to you not because you lack something they can give, but because you already possess something they can't take away. And from there, the next step becomes clear, moving into a life where you're no longer performing for attention, but standing as a complete presence, steady enough to need nothing from the outside to feel complete. That's the ground from which true power grows. Number 7. Confidence from inner wholeness. A lion does not roar to remind the savannah that it is king. It moves with measured steps, unhurried, and every creature senses its presence before it's even in sight. Among humans, there's a similar kind of power, one that doesn't come from charm, status, or display. It's the power of a soul that is not hungry. In the noise of the digital age, this kind of wholeness has become rare, almost invisible, yet it's the very quality we crave most in others, even if we can't name it. It's a quiet confidence rooted in the fact that you are still complete, even when no one is looking. The Stoics knew this well. Attention that must be chased was never truly yours. If you must perform to keep it, it's not a gift, it's a lease, and the rent is paid in pieces of yourself. It comes quickly, but it slips away just as fast, because it was never rooted in the truth of who you are. It was borrowed from trends, gossip, and fleeting approval. And when you live too long in the glow of someone else's spotlight, you forget that you carried your own light all along. Becoming whole is not about performing calmness or feigning indifference. It's about building an inner life so steady that your ego no longer feeds on others for air. It starts in the smallest choices. When you feel the urge to answer a message immediately, ask yourself, am I acting from clarity or from fear of being judged? When you consider posting just to show you're doing well, ask, can I allow my peace to exist without public validation? These moments are where wholeness is forged, not in grand acts, but in the discipline of refusing to trade your peace for recognition. Inner wholeness is not built through empty affirmations. It's grown through daily practices that keep you in conversation with yourself. 10 quiet minutes in the morning, no phone, no agenda, simply noticing where your mind goes. In that stillness, you learn that some insecurities don't need to be solved. They simply need to stop being fed. And every time you say no to hollow praise, to pointless arguments, to behaviors that tether you to approval, you say yes to the part of yourself that already knows peace without proof. Seneca once wrote, "If you live according to nature, you will never be poor. If you live according to opinion, you will never be rich." When you stop living by the currency of others' opinions, you stop being poor in spirit. You stop chasing scraps of attention and begin standing in the abundance of your own presence. And in that presence, something remarkable happens. You no longer need to prove your worth. Do not be afraid of being misunderstood. Even the wisest were misread in their own time. Integrity doesn't need to be explained, it needs to be lived. Let your actions carry the weight of your principles without announcing them. The most magnetic people are not those who have everything, but those who have stopped needing everything. When you release the compulsion to be seen, your light changes. It stops flickering in the wind of public opinion and begins to burn steady, fueled by something deeper than applause. Your reactions slow, your words gain weight, and your presence acquires gravity. Not everyone will be ready for that gravity, but those who are will recognize it instantly. This is the quiet paradox of wholeness. When you stop reaching for attention, it finds you. When you stop performing for approval, the approval you do receive feels lighter, freer, because you no longer depend on it. And when you live this way, rooted in yourself, unmoved by the passing tides, you don't just become magnetic, you become irreplaceable. We have explored 7 powerful reasons why being detached and non-reactive can transform your presence. If you remember one thing, let it be this: you do not need to chase approval to be valuable. True strength is choosing where your energy goes and refusing to feed what does not serve you. Each choice to pause before reacting, to step away from the noise, to stand firm in your own worth, builds a steady core no one can shake. If this message speaks to you, type "steady" in the comments as your quiet commitment. And if you are ready to keep walking this path of strength, stillness, and clarity, subscribe so you do not walk it alone. The journey ahead holds even deeper lessons, and your next step begins in the very next video. Keep your center, and you will find the world moving toward you.